Hey everyone, it's Jess. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about grad school rejection. It's a hard topic, and I know those of you who are experiencing it right now, or those of you that might come to experience it soon. I don't wish that on anyone. I'm just saying, it happens. People get rejected all the time. So if it's happening to you or is getting ready to happen to you, hopefully you can use this video as some sort of light at the end of the tunnel thing. I'm gonna give you guys my story, then I'm gonna give you my tips on how to overcome rejection and how to better yourself next time around. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna start out with my story. In 2014, I graduated with my undergrad, and I was like, I'm gonna take a break. I had been going so hard. I was working full time while I was in undergrad, and I was like, I need to take a break before I jump into something, just to have a peace of mind, and not, burn myself out before I even get started on this grad journey. And I remember taking my GRE, and I was like, oh, I didn't really do too good, but it doesn't matter really because maybe it's just not that important. A lot of people probably score like this. I was thinking that way, and kind of ridiculous mindset. And I also thought, like, since I had such a strong GPA, that I'd be good, even though I lacked research experience. And I was like, well, I'll get in anyways. My GPA speaks for itself. Like that type of ignorant mentality, not realizing that everybody comes in with great GPAs for the most part. So there's really no point to think that, but young Jess. So I applied to about like 13 or 14 schools. I don't know, probably not even that much, maybe 10 or 11. It was between 10 to 15 schools, and I was rejected by all of them, every last one of them. And I remember that day. I remember that day where I got the last email rejection, and I was at work. And I just remember, in my mind, what the hell? Just what the hell? And I held it in, but after work, I drove to the mall, and I just cried my eyes out, you guys. I kid you not. I cried my eyes out. I, yelled at God. I was like, why is this happening to me? Why did this happen? I've been doing what I had to do. I did it. I'm supposed to get in. I'm supposed to be getting out of this state. I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be happy, on my way to wherever I gotta go. And I couldn't even, the hardest thing about rejection, especially from maybe it was your dream school where you felt like you had a strong chance of getting into, like that school you really want to get into. You was like, I know I'm going to get in there. I'm already telling people I'm going, I'm leaving. And not necessarily telling people that you're leaving, but you're telling people, yeah, I'm applying, I won't be here, I'm out. And then you got to look these people in the eye and tell them, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. It's like a shot through your heart. It's humiliating in the least. It's humiliating. You're already sad and down because you're contemplating your future, and you're sitting here and you're like, what's gonna happen to me? I didn't even get in anywhere. I have to figure out my life, for real, because I don't know what's gonna happen. I was dead set on taking this path, but that didn't happen for me. And now I gotta find another route. And I have to look these people in the eye and tell them that, tell them nothing. I'm still here, and that was the hardest part of it for me, at least, because I was like, yeah, I'll be gone. I applied to these schools, so I might go to, and I was really thinking, since I applied to so many schools, I applied to so many, I'm going to get into at least one. It's just how it went. And it just didn't happen that way. And it just didn't happen that way. So fast forward, I applied again. I applied to master's and PhD. Again, rejected from all PhDs, but that's okay because I applied to master's, and I got into a few masters, but the one I actually concentrated on had full funding, so I went there. I was like, you know what, I can get what I need out of this, and I actually got into a really good master's program where it was really balanced, so I was very happy about that. And yeah, so during my time at my master's, I amped up my research experience, blah, blah, blah. I'll get into how I got, where I'm at now. And then I applied for my PhD, and then I got into a PhD that way, straight out of my master's. So also, again, fully funded. So I want to just share to you guys what I did to kind of overcome that rejection, kind of give you guys some tips on what you can do. And yeah, let's get started into that. Before I get started in the tips, I really want to communicate to you guys that while I was doing all these things, I was also giving my mind a break. So I was actually, because you went through the application process, you deserve at least a night out, just in the thought of, even if you were rejected from everywhere, you deserve at least a night out just to relax and depress, because that is intense. You know, getting all that together, funding that experience, and dealing with all of that, it's a lot. And you know, even if you got rejected, have a drink, or if you can't drink yet, go out with your friends, do something that'll get your mind off of it. Okay, do something that you can just hang out with people that love you and you love, and can make you feel better at that time. One of the things that I did was I quit my job and I traveled. I just went around, you know, I did whatever. And I was okay with that. I had a great time, like, just because all the time I'm always on go, 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 go. And especially with this experience that was so intense and me being rejected everywhere, like I was sad. And I was like, you know, I love traveling. I was like, I'm gonna travel. That's what I'm gonna do. I quit my job and I traveled. Like, no care in the world, I just did it. So please, you guys, please take some day, like a personal, like if you can't afford to travel, take a personal day, like at least for yourself, at the least take a personal day, not a personal hour, a personal day, and have fun, like do something fun. First, I will always suggest that you deal with your emotions, but also, you know, cry it out. You know, cry it out. I don't know if you paint it out, whatever you do to deal with your emotions, do that. But also take a day to have fun, just to celebrate you getting through this application process, because it is a lot. It is a lot, okay? It is a lot. And even if you were rejected everywhere, celebrate getting through that experience. Celebrate it. Like, just accept it for what it is. Celebrate it. It's gonna make you feel better. I promise it's gonna make you feel better. Do something that makes you feel good. So my first tip is probably the most obvious, but it's to improve your GRE or GPA. For what I did was I tried to improve my GRE. I invested like $2,000 into like a tutor, and it still didn't help me. And I kind of wasted $2,000. So, I mean, I saved money for it, but it was just kind of a waste. So if you have that money to do it, do it. Or you can watch my video instead on how to get into a PhD program or grad school without a GRE retake. So check that out. The next thing you can do, if it's your GPA that's holding your application down, is pulling it down, retake the class if you can financially afford it. Especially, I would really recommend it, especially if your class that's lacking is something that's in your field. So for instance, statistics, and you're going into a psychology program. Well, you kind of really need to know statistics, but you got an F in that class, or a D. Well, probably not F, but a D. Retake it. Even if it's a C, I'd suggest retaking it as well, if you can afford it. If you can't, then try to amp up your application as far as like being a tutor in stats, and showing as to why that did not really reflect what you can do. So that's my first tip. Improve your GRE, improve your GPA if you can afford it. My next tip is to conduct your own research on what it is your research interest is. Like, get started on something, and contact the professor of interest at one of those universities, and ask if they'd like to collaborate on it. This can open a lot of doors for you. First, you're reaching out to this professor, and you're saying, hey, you know, I still would love to do some research with you, and you're kind of like developing a relationship with them, sort of in an informal type of way. And like, actually don't come to them with a research idea. Like, actually come maybe with your literature review already written, or you've already put everything in motion. You're like, I would really love to work. Can you help me as far as this is what I have? Like, where do you think it's missing? Like, that type of thing. Like, really, like, try to connect with this professor on that level. And this would be especially useful if the professor is untenured, because usually untenured professors are looking to get tenured, and they need that research experience. You know, they need all the research they can. So if you're, you know, reaching out to them like, hey, I'd really love to work. Sorry, I got a phone call. But anyway, so if you're reaching out with them, you're like, hey, I really would love to work with you. I've already started on this research project. I sort of need some guidance on it. I would like your help. I would love to collab with you on this. Then they'll probably be like, if they have time, you know, and they're untenured again, and they're looking for research, you know, and it's showing that you're highly motivated. You're still trying to do this. You're still trying to get through this. You still want to do this. So that'll help them, you know, that'll help you out. And while you're doing this, you're building a relationship with them, you know, and especially if you have these deadlines and you're moving, it's gonna communicate like, okay, this is a student that I could possibly work with. And slip in there, you know, sometime if this is a new professor that you didn't apply to last time, like say, hey, I'm considering applying to your program. I'd love to work with you on a professional, you know, actual professional level. See what they say. Obviously do that a little bit further along, and you have to be consistent. You have to be dependable. You have to be on it. Okay. You have to be on it. You can't just be slacking off and they're expecting you to do this and you don't show up. Okay, so make sure you're on it, you're credible, and then slip that in there like, hey, I would love to work with you, and this is what I'm, you know, this is, you know, they'll know you by that time. They'll have an understanding of who you are, and if it's even better if you're in the same city, you can like, hey, would you like to come up for a coffee, you know, while in one of your weekly meetings or whatever, however you set up your meeting times for this research, slip in there, I'm looking to apply, this is a school I'm looking to apply to. And a lot of times when you're already working with a professor, they're likely, and you're a good student, they actually like you and they like that you work and you get things done, they're probably gonna extend the invitation to you. Like, are you thinking about applying to grad school? Maybe you should apply here. I've seen it. You know, I've seen it myself. Like professors will reach out to you and say, hey, you should apply, work with me. I like you as a student. You know, I want you here, you know, so that's one way you can do that, okay? But just remember, you have to be credible and you have to be reliable and you have to be consistent. So that's another way. The next thing, and this kind of went into number one as far as improving your GRE and GPA, but is to strengthen your application. You can reach out to those schools that you didn't get accepted in and ask them, you know, just ask, why weren't you accepted? It might be something that you didn't even realize, you know, like maybe the professor wasn't accepting students if you didn't do your research at first to see, you know, I was an accepted student, so I didn't even, you know, that's one of those things. Or maybe it was like, well, I really had some concerns about your GPA and why this grade was this. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it might be something as small as that. You know, and you could be like, oh, well, this is, you know, what, you know, something that can be avoided, or something you can actually strengthen up really quick. And, you know, not all professors are going to respond back. You know, you can kind of phrase this in words like, hey, you know, I'm looking to apply again next year, and I would love your feedback on where I can strengthen my application. Actually, one professor reached out to me and was getting ready to tell me, you know, this is where you went wrong. Well, not where you went wrong. This is how you can strengthen your application next time. And he was ready to help me, but I had already been accepted, so it was okay. But it was very thoughtful for that professor to reach out and tell me like, hey, this is where you can strengthen your application. And I'm sure there were a lot of weak spots on my application as well. So, that's one of those things, okay? So just reach out to them if they don't reach out to you before, because sometimes they really do like you, and it's just you are missing something so important that they can't accept you yet. You need to strengthen yourself up in this area, and then, you know, figure out what that is. Ask them what it is. Ask them what you can do. Some might be like, well, maybe since your GRE is so low, your GPA is so low, start out in a master's program and reapply after your master's program, and I will consider your application then, because we have some concerns regarding that. So that's one way you can get around that as well. My last tip, well, it's my fourth tip. I might come up with something else on the fly in a second. But that is to apply to more and different places. Now, I know this is if you are financially able. But I would aim to apply for about 6 schools, 6 or 7, more if you can, and have at least 4 safe schools and 2 for the stars, like shooting for the stars thing, okay? Because you never know what people are looking for. And in this, like, don't just apply to city school. Don't apply to schools where they're getting like a lot, okay? Apply to some schools where they're not getting much, okay? They don't have a large application pool. These are cities people probably don't even want to live in. You know, like, it's like, I don't really want to live in some town in South Dakota to go to school for the next 5 years, but if it's fully funded and you are getting a chance at education and it is a good program and you are getting ready to make connections, please remember that this, where you're going to be at, is temporary. Okay, you're not going to be there forever unless you choose to, but it's temporary. And if you got something, if these city schools are getting, because it's competitive, you guys, like especially the schools you really want to get into that are in the city, like New York or somewhere in like, I don't know, Miami, they got a lot of people wanting to go there. Okay, they got a lot of people, they got a lot to choose from. And so if your application is not even up to par or something, they're not gonna, be realistic about where you apply, okay? And apply to a broad spectrum of places. Don't just stick to one area, don't just stick to one school. Don't just, okay, if you, please, unless you have a guaranteed acceptance, do not apply to just one school. Not even 2, not even 3. I would suggest at the bare minimum 4. Good is 6, great is above 6, okay? So please keep in mind your application status, where you are as a student, how you are as a student, and consider that in where you're applying next. And lastly, just rejection, it happens. Don't take it to heart. Don't take it personal. It happens, okay? That happens. When I was rejected, it was hard not to take it personal, but I ended up not. I was like, you know what? It's like rolling dice, okay? It's rolling dice. You're gonna get it, you're not gonna get it. It just depends. So please, 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 you guys, just accept it, accept what it is, and go with it, and come back stronger next time. And I've given you all some tips. Hopefully they work for you all. Let me know what you need. Like, subscribe, and yeah. Good luck, actually. I'm not going to just say peace yet. Good luck, good luck with that, dealing with that. I know it's emotional, it's a lot. Reach out to friends and family. Talk to them. These are your allies. These are your people, okay? So good luck. Blessings to you. I hope you get into your school, but if you don't, you know what to do. All right? Bye.